Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon, crypto and thanks button in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using stock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. Now we are joined by Neil, 10th Man, Arwin, and a whole bunch of people in Discord, so welcome one and all.
Good morning, everybody.
Hello. Let's get it on.
Let's get it on. Oh, that's the cue for housekeeping. Excellent enthusiasm levels. Any evidence of a physical geometric sphere-edge horizon, formerly known as the curve of the Earth?
They insist, Nathan. They keep on bringing it back. Back from over the horizon.
The horizon used to be Earth curve.
Well, it still is, but they just can't argue it. But they'll always come back with it again after a while.
You mean like Phil
like
B?
A snail's eye, right? You put your finger on the snail's eye, it's going to retract, but it's always going to come back.
You mean like Phil B saying it's both geometric? And
Haven't you heard? It's not mutually exclusive. Can be both apparent and geometric, according to Phil Bell.
We only have one horizon, and the horizon in the begging the question proof of nothing perspective hijacking Earth curve calculators is an assertion of a geometric limitation at the horizon, called Earth curve. The horizon is Earth curve if you believe the Earth is a sphere. It's physically claimed to block boats and buildings into the distance with a calculable value. Their claim is that the horizon is Earth curve. We've debunked it, 1st Jan 2020, Black Swan. If the Earth was a sphere, with a radius of 3959 miles, then every distance to the horizon, that's the measurement, to Earth curve, could be no more than 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height in feet, as per the claim of the Earth curve maths. The distance to the horizon, in the Black Swan imagery, is way beyond 10 miles, when the Earth curve maths would suggest it would be at 1.2. Beyond the physical geometry, claimed to be refracted means it's not physically blocking anything anymore, therefore not physically proving its Earth curve anymore, therefore the horizon is not Earth curve, and the Earth is not a sphere.
you can't do that. That's begging the question.
Okay, no worries, we won't beg the question of a sphere ever again. Obviously that same standard will apply unilaterally to everybody who comes here, right? Oh no, my bad, every single argument that ever existed for a globe started with the assumption you were on a globe.
Right, how are you going to even start your argument if you can't start out begging the question, you know?
Oh, well, I'll tell you, because that's happening right about now, isn't it, with the elevation angle argument. Any evidence that you can acquire an elevation angle measurement from a curved baseline, i.e. a sphere Earth?
No, you can't.
Impossible.
Syntax error.
Most people don't give it much thought. Just by coincidence, I saw somebody who was talking about a curved monitor when I was looking at refresh rates and what high resolution will give you in terms of picture quality, etc., etc. So I'm doing my research to buy my £60 second-hand monitor, and one of the things I came across was a guy talking about the viewing angle to a curved monitor. Now, when it comes to him getting the viewing angle, he has to explain in a very loose, I'm not nagging the guy too much way, doesn't understand or care to appreciate why he can't measure an angle from his curved monitor. So in his own words, I kind of eyeballed it and guessed. Why? Well, because you can't measure an angle from a curve, that's why. It's two straight lines.
Right,
Any
so it's a
evidence?
geometric error.
Yeah, that's what I've
Yeah.
actually wrote as a comment. I couldn't help myself. I was like, yeah, try and put your curve monitor into a CAD program and see what angle you get from your curve. Any evidence of axial rotation of the Earth-based variety?
The columns of gas move in lockstep with Earth's rotation. We wouldn't expect to see any.
Gas is inhomogeneous, anisotropic, definitely not forming layers.
They're not layers, columns of
Or
fluid.
columns.
The stars are moving.
And
That means the Earth is turning.
no, it doesn't. If we exhibited a Coriolis deflection by way of your assertion that the stars move because Earth turns beneath them, as heliocentrists believe is the case, then that Coriolis effect would be exhibitable in other items that left the non-inertial turning reference frame claimed to be a globe Earth that spins. Now, that deflection is actually claimed to happen if you're a globe Earth priest, like Neil deGrasse Tyson saying that Earth turns under footballs to cause deflection, assisted by Earth's turning. Well, that's Earth turning under the football. However, if that was the case, Simon Dan here in his helicopter would have the next continent along coming towards him, because Earth would be turning under the helicopter like it's claimed to turn under a ball and turn under the stars. That's Coriolis deflection that we do not observe. So the assertion that Earth is turning under the stars to cause them to deflect at 15 degrees an hour as a result of Earth turning at that rate is nonsense. There'd be other consequences. Claimed to happen, but we definitely don't experience.
Well, no, you can't use that because when you do the Coriolis test on a roundabout, they're saying that Earth does not rotate the way a roundabout rotates. Don't you know that?
Okay. Well, if I look at a lamppost from a roundabout, it seems to spiral. Not because roundabouts are having a magical influence on lampposts, or that lampposts move in a spiral manner. It's merely the fact that I'm observing a light from a turning reference frame, precisely as is claimed to be the case with the stars. They're not actually moving. We're turning beneath them to cause their apparent motion. Well, that's exactly the same motion as a roundabout could induce in a street lamp. The movement of the street lamp isn't real movement. It's the movement of the turning platform. Well, they're claiming the stars' movement isn't real movement. It's the movement of the turning Earth, they claim, causes that effect.
Oh, look, I went to an aquarium, and that's the guy. What are those places called where you see the stars and everything?
Planetarium.
Planetarium, and the guy told me that it's really the ground that's moving. Like in the planetarium, they make the stars and everything move, but they really tell you that it's not the stars above moving.
That's a great story.
The ground. So I mean, he's the authority. Got to take his word for it, right? He knows better.
Yeah,
For
but we
all
can
the
debunk that.
navigation, the celestial sphere model says the stars are moving and the Earth isn't.
Sure, there's lots of contradictory opinions, but if we have to take one as read, that would be the assertion from the globe side that Earth turns beneath the stars. That makes Earth a non-inertial turning reference frame, and the deflection we observe Coriolis drift. That's what they're claiming. Ever heard that term, Coriolis effect? That's what globe Earth is claimed to have. That would be us turning beneath an inertial reference frame. So Earth's claimed to turn beneath as a non-inertial reference frame, and we are claimed to observe deflection at 15 degrees an hour in the inertial reference frame. So that's the effect they claim we should see. So we should see it. And we don't.
Oh
But
dear.
whoever brought that up, that we should see that? That's all Neil deGrasse Tyson's fault or something.
Well, he just holds to the actual globe claim. Globe claims Coriolis deflection because the Earth turns beneath the football. So he's just repeating that. That's all he's doing, sticking in line with the globe Earth claim that Earth turns beneath as a non-inertial turning reference frame to cause Coriolis effect. And when he details it, he doesn't say that the ball drifted and the goal was caused by Coriolis effect because he's not that stupid. He said it was aided by Earth's rotation. Now, the effect detailed Coriolis in terms of the drift you observe because it's not actual drift. It's the ball travelling straight and Earth turning beneath with you attached to it. So from your vantage point, it looks like it curved through the goalposts. Actually, it's Earth turning beneath according to Neil deGrasse Tyson. So that's Coriolis deflection. But the net consequence is that Earth's turning beneath that football according to him and according to the globe Earth claim.
Yeah, but hold on. The globe Earth is not a sentient being. It cannot make a claim. Who actually made that claim about the globe Earth first in an official capacity?
It doesn't matter. It's a consequence. It's a net consequence of Earth being a turning reference frame. It's a net effect that would be induced by us turning.
Yeah, but that's not what claims are about. That's a logical consequence. You're talking about a claim.
It's a claim that we don't experience, though, isn't it? So they claim Earth's a turning reference frame, and they claim we'll see Coriolis effect. But that would mean that you launch your drone and watch it drift away. Not because drones drift away 1,000 miles an hour on the equator. They don't. They haven't got motors strong enough to take them that speed. But it's claimed Earth as a non-inertial turning reference frame turns beneath your drone. So that is the claim, but the claim fails because it doesn't happen.
Yeah, but a claim is only a claim if it's made by somebody. So you're just saying they claimed it, but who actually claimed it?
The globe. I'm not saying it's sentient and has mouths and can claim it. I'm saying it's a net consequence of being a spinning globe. So no one has to make it as a claim.
You say claim, then you should use the word logical consequence, not claim, because a claim is an action by an individual.
Oh, Owen's right. I hate this when I've been stern with him. Yes, that's right, with gritted teeth. It's a logical consequence as opposed to a claim.
Can I say something? Are you saying that the way they phrase it now? Because I was taught that Coriolis was the way water went down a drain.
No, that's wrong.
But that's what was said way back when.
That's the old and busted argument. That's the old and busted global argument. They had to scratch that when it was too bad, apparently.
Well, that's what I think Owen's saying. When did they scratch it and come up with this one now?
The Coriolis effect can involve
it's the same one.
A water going down a drain. If you were in that reference frame, let's say, you've got some dams that have an overflow, right? And it's just a tube that goes to a lower piece of ground or a slipway. Well, if you go in the reservoir's low, you can just see the tube poking up. But if you, on the other hand, get there and there's been a massive downfall, you can see a whirlpool going down what looks like a hole to hell in the middle of the reservoir. Has anybody ever seen that?
Yes, I know what you're talking about.
Right. So now imagine that, because it's scaled to the point where you could accidentally fall in, and then suddenly you're swirling down a massive drain. Is everybody with me? You're going down the drain in a reservoir, and for the sake of this description, that swirling is such that you can be doing it for a reasonable period of time. Let's say a minute. You happen to be swirling around this drain, round and round and round and round. Now, as you are swirling down the drain, you look up and go, oh no, that tree's coming to... Oh, it's gone. Oh, there it is again. The tree's coming towards me. Oh, it's gone. Oh, there's that tree again. Oh, it's coming. That effect of the tree looking like it's coming towards you and then going away, and then looking like it's coming towards you and then going away, that's the not actual deflection of the tree. That's Coriolis deflection. It looks like it's taking a curved path towards you. It isn't. It's rooted into the ground. It's a tree. You're spinning down a drain. So that would be the only way you could use water swirling down the drain as an effect that is only capable of being observed from a spinning reference frame. So your eyeballs and the spinning reference frame must be as one for you to detail this effect. Hey, Adam.
You know what I'm saying? But they used to say in the southern hemisphere, it goes down one way. In the northern hemisphere, it goes down the other way.
Yeah, so it's a begging the question, affirming the consequent with nonsense claims as the actual Q statement. If the Earth is a sphere, denoted by the use of the word hemisphere, then we will observe clockwise and anti-clockwise swirling down drains depending on the hemisphere. We do observe differences anti-clockwise/clockwise of water swirling down drains in the north and south hemisphere, therefore hemisphere. So it's if P then QQ therefore P, with an assumption of hemispheres. But the main problem, and the reason they convolute it into this sort of formal logical fallacy with a begging the question, so it's a 2-for-1, is so that they can insert this nonsense assertion that doesn't sit in line with Coriolis and have flat earthers attack that, or attack the premise itself. Oh, well, water doesn't swirl the other way in the southern hemisphere. It's like, well, you've missed the fallacy, haven't you? You're not addressing the fact that you're affirming the consequent. You're not addressing the fact that they're begging the question when they make the claim. You're just addressing the fact that it doesn't really happen, when in the logical attempted to be consistency, actually fallacy, that they're formulating, the main point is the first section. If Earth's got hemispheres, you don't push past that bit. That's where they assume their outcome. But you're going to focus on this parlour trick that doesn't actually work correctly. The parlour trick's irrelevant. The begging the question that comes before it is the only important bit.
I think they liked it a lot better when we were focusing on the ridiculous arguments and not pointing out their logical, fallacious reasoning in making those arguments. I think it was much better time for them.
Even better would be that we argued contrary to the parlour trick assertion. For example, we say there's 15 degrees an hour drift in a gyro because of ether spin. It's much better that we argue with the convoluted parlour trick than the affirming the consequent and the begging the question, because that's where they get their win, regardless of if we argue or if we don't. Oh, what's that? You're saying it's not really Earth turn because you've shown it happens now. No, what happens in the parlour trick, again, isn't relevant. The if P statement is if Earth spins, then Q drift in gyro. The drift in gyro is absolutely irrelevant to the first begging the question point that's being made in the claim. That's if Earth spins. Automatically assuming it in the premise and then substituting it for something different, that would be ether rotation, doesn't change the logical fallacy. If ether rotation, then gyro drift, therefore ether rotation, doesn't that just sound like they've just changed the begging the question fallacy? That's because that's exactly what's happened.
So if a drone's lifted off the ground, then say at 20 foot and it's hovering, and obviously nobody's going to see the apparent deviation of that drone. What is their reasoning for not seeing that then?
You don't have to explain a negative. It just doesn't happen. And for your information, if I was sat around about watching a drone, so I'm holding a drone on my lap, and I've got the thumbsticks in my hand, and I'm sat spinning on a roundabout. As soon as I push that up stick, you can be damn sure that I'm going to expect it to curve away from my position when I'm spinning on a roundabout. So I do expect to see drift in a drone. It's just the same effect cannot be said when it launches off the ground without a roundabout, i.e. a non-inertial turning reference frame. It's supposed to drift away at 15 degrees an hour. That's the globe's claim. Like a football drifting through a goal assisted by Earth's rotation, yet you'd have drones travelling intercontinentally because they were assisted by Earth's rotation if that was the case. They just don't. They do on roundabouts, though. Coriolis is very much an effect you can observe just by throwing a ball over the top of a roundabout. All you need to show this effect is 3 people, and you must be the observer of the effect on the roundabout. I.e., you start spinning and 2 other people toss a ball in a straight path over the top of the roundabout. When you watch it spinning beneath it, it looks like it curves. It doesn't really, it just looks like it. That's Coriolis effect. Easy to observe, just doesn't happen on Earth. So when you say, what's their explanation for it not happening? No, it would definitely just have to happen if Earth was turning, and it doesn't. That's the end of the argument.
Yep.
Why would you expect to see the thing we just claimed that you would see?
Yeah, they claim we see drift. The moment you don't see drift, it's the end of their claim. They claim there will be, and there isn't.
Yep, the Earth is stationary.
Shout out to Godzilla37. If I can get the damn chat to go up. There we go. Virus asked me to pass this argument on to you. In quotes. You waiting for it, lads? Nuh-uh. End quote. Thank you very much for the super chat, Godzilla37.
Yeah, he's in chat talking nonsense, Virus.
That's his best argument yet.
And,
That's true.
any evidence to the distance to the sun?
93 million miles away. They're teaching it to my grandson right now in school.
You'll need a flat plane to get that measurement. You'll need it to get the R, to derive it, to apply Kepler's third law of interplanetary motion to a scaling value for
You should
Venus
pick a new
and Earth.
school.
According to Virus, he's done this, and he still don't come up with a flat Earth.
Neil, you should pick a new school. That's a long distance to go to school.
Well, that 93 million miles definitely comes from Kepler's third law. So that does definitely have an R value. So any evidence of the R value used in Kepler's third law, that would be Earth radius and also Venus radius.
The Greeks measured the radius using angle measurements from a flat baseline, I think.
Yeah, they're going to need a flat plane for it, right? Elevation angle measurements to Polaris to derive the radius of Earth, or dual radii, if I'm to be more accurate, or an application of Al-Biruni's method of dip angle measurement to the horizon that we've debunked as Earth curve. Not the one that Phil's talking about, the refracted, can exist simultaneously, not mutually exclusive horizon. No, just the horizon that was geometric prior to 2020 that Al-Biruni drew a straight line to derive R. After measuring the height of the mountain he went up, integral to the measurement, off a flat plane. So no matter which way you dice it, you're going to need a flat plane to get R. Earth is indeed measured flat, as is your globe, derived from that flat measurement. That's where R comes from. Earth radius, the assertion begged the question of, in every single example of a claim to be proof of a sphere Earth, was derived from a flat plane.
After the show yesterday, I was thinking to myself, I had a good chuckle about how, who was it? I don't remember who it was that just realized that the begging the question is a problem. For his, roofing. That he just realized that we're doing the same thing you're doing and then using that to destroy your argument. And now they realize that that's a problem. It's too funny to me, man. You don't like us saying if the Earth is a sphere with a radius of 3959 miles? You've been telling us that for years. That's the claim.
No, we're not allowed to beg the
problem saying that now.
Not allowed to beg the question when the assumption of an Earth sphere radius 3959 needs some with logical implications that are debunked by actual photography of actual occurrences in our actual reality. That is a big problem for them when you say, no, if we assume Earth's a sphere, this doesn't work. Oh, well, you can't assume the sphere then.
Nathan, I've got a slide in Master
I was not quite done.
Subject.
That just needs a slight paraphrasing. Yeah, so where he says, well, you can't beg the sphere then, just change the intonation in your tone. Well, you can't beg the question of a sphere then. You see how that changes it totally? His tone is, you can't beg the question of a sphere. Right? That's his tone. My tone is, you can't beg the question of a sphere. You see how they're the same words, but very different?
Indeed.
Nathan, I got a couple of slides in Master B if you can reference them.
Okay, got your yellowy one first.
Yeah. All right, so this, in the next slide, I want to illustrate what Al-Biruni did. So assuming Al-Biruni is the boat on land and the lighthouse is the mountain, he needed an angle of elevation. So he gets that. Then he goes to the mountain, and then he, looking at the horizon for his dip angle. Well, he needs an angle of depression, which means he needs a reference line, which is his eye line horizontal, much like the sensible horizon. So in both cases, you need a flat baseline in order to get an angle. Next slide, please. So this is more of a math illustration of that same thing I just described. So angle of elevation would be the Y, and the angle of depression would be the X, and the green representing a horizontal line in order to get an angle. So in both cases, he needed a flat line, whether it was in his through his horizontal eye line on top of the mountain or on the base of the Earth using the Earth flat plane.
Thank you very much. Any evidence of the distance to the sun?
Thought we asked this already.
No, I asked for R, and then we ended up getting into the distance to the sun because you claimed 93 million miles, and I said you'll need R for it, and then we asked for R, but I haven't actually asked for distance to the sun yet. It is the same answer, though.
No, you actually did ask for the distance of the sun, and that's why Neil said 93 million miles.
Correct.
Oh, is that right? Did I not ask for R?
You asked for R before, but the last question was the sun.
Okay. Okay, I've just lost track. Any scientific evidence of gravity, then, in that case?
What's that?
No, there's not one single scientific evidence, not one scientific evidence to prove it whatsoever.
What did you say,
can
Adam?
we make it like old school? And I mean, are there any Globers that want to come and tell us what gravity is?
Phil B says, I don't care about the 3-body problem. All my predictions are 100%.
Hold on.
Do we have more than 3 bodies? Why wouldn't he care about that?
No, chocolate.
Why?
Only ever one.
Okay.
Was someone going to come in?
Somebody asked him in chat. That's why he answered that way. This was a couple of days ago, though. I found it funny.
Why would it be a problem?
Is he actually saying 3 bodies is a problem?
It's a problem for Einstein's field equations. Let me give clarity as everyone clears their throat through the top of it. No, it's a problem with Einstein's field equations. That's what it's a problem with. Obviously, we don't exist in pseudo-Riemannian for space-time, so the consequences of space-time bending aren't really that concerning to me. When you describe them mathematically and find a problem with them, that's not really a concern to me. It is to some people because they think it's real. And when they're asked about the problems with their maths, not reality and physics, but maths, they say, it's still right. Okay, good for you. Happy days.
That's the that struck me there. That he said all those things. And as far as I'm aware, he's sending rockets into a violation of the second law. But in doing so, he's made the bold claim that the way he does it is with predictions. He's guessing that his rockets will go up. He'll predict that if he puts this, but he's gambling all this money, doing all these things on predictions, Phil. I wouldn't describe my job like that.
And then let me ask you a question about math. If I wanted to believe the globe claims, I could only believe it if it existed only in the maths, because reality doesn't vet it out. Am I right? Or should I rephrase the question?
We did it a bit last night, didn't we, on Betty ambushed us with FG.
Yes, she did.
And I won't ramble as much there, but the math is only as good as the description, and it's only way of calculating something. It's not actually manipulating reality, is it? So it's only as good as QE was saying about defining your parameters. That's where it's useful. But if you look at the gravity stuff, then we're taking the number that we're pretending to calculate from reality and then backworking it. And maths can make anything look very pretty, and it can be mathematically correct, but it doesn't mean it has any bearing to reality, even if the numbers work out. I can bend space-time in maths. Yeah? I can't touch it, I can't see it, I can't feel it, it doesn't exist in reality, but I can do all sorts of amazing things with it in maths.
Well, that's funny because Virus says he doesn't bring his proofs here because they're mathematical. Very interesting.
Okay. We deal with physics as opposed to the conceptual, descriptive language of maths. You know, maths is really good at describing stuff, but when it comes to actual physical stuff that we experience, that's physics, not maths. Maths is abstract. How can it be a proof of something physical?
So he's saying his proofs are all abstract. Well,
Correct.
Thank you, Virus. Appreciate that.
But it seems like he's implying. Sorry. Is the implication that you can't use numbers in the scientific method? Yeah, you're going to use numbers in your experiment. Yeah, it's fine. But if your proof, your support of your idea is only in the numbers, then it's no proof at all, is it?
So I've got to disagree there. Sorry.
That's like saying...
Hold on, sorry, Chocolate. I've got to be pedantic. Sorry. What numbers are in science, Adam?
So if I'm going to use numbers in my experiment, I'm going to use the function of numbers. But it's not, the proof I'm obtaining is not with mathematics, but I have to use numbers in the experiment, take a temperature, do this, do that. There are numbers in there, but the proof itself isn't derived within the mathematics, but there will be some maths in there, yeah? But it's only a function.
Okay, what you're saying is you may use a numerical value on a scale when describing a quantification of the qualification that you acquire within science. Okay, I don't like it.
But this is what I'm trying to say. You can have that. That's fine. You've got to recognise where the science is and what you're using. And it's not the numbers that's the science. It's the cause and effect relationship. It's the experiment that's testing your hypothesis that's going to give you the validity. But there will be numbers in there. But we've gone to a stage where any scramble of numbers on a piece of paper, as long as the numbers work out, it's a proof of reality. Well, no. But that's yeah.
I'm sorry. Let me clarify for Virus, because I got it wrong. He said he don't bring his arguments here because they're mathematics, not his proofs.
Arguments. We've got plenty of them. We want proof of a globe.
So a mathematical argument would be within the maths. So the argument would only exist as to whether the derivation within the maths is mathematically correct. Is that argument correct? Have you derived it right? Again, no bearing on reality, just whether your numbers and your formulas are correct.
Virus claims to be a self-proclaimed geometry expert, math expert, but he doesn't know what an angle is.
Yeah, it's enough talk
or a
about
straight
Virus.
line.
Go on, one deck.
I'm just saying he doesn't know what a straight line is either. He thinks it's wobbly and wavy.
That's like me. I'm a flooring expert, but I don't know what tile is.
Why are you doing floors then?
Because I'm an expert.
This is a very bad example. You shouldn't know what tile is. I know what tile is.
Well, just because you're called an expert doesn't mean you have to be an expert, right? Because I remember distinctly an interview with an exoplanet astrophysicist, right? That would mean what? She's an expert in planets that aren't even in our system? Okay. But this same lady didn't understand things about the very model that she supposedly lives in. But she's an expert in things outside of our solar system, sure.
Well, you can be an expert.
In my comparison, it shows that Virus is not a mathematician.
Bro, who's Virus, man? Why are you even bring that guy up?
I would do this too, Chocolate. Chocolate's point, I'll just reiterate, no one paid attention at all. He's saying, let's say you've got an expert in the gravitational fields of exoplanets, right? Then you go and ask that person about a very basic tenet of the heliocentric doctrine, and they don't understand it. You've got to say to yourself, so you're going to tell me about a galaxy far, far away and the conceptual reification of pseudo-Riemannian for space-time bending around that light in the sky that we don't potentially even see with the naked eye, or at all, potentially. You're going to tell me about that, but you don't actually understand how that fundamentally operates within the model. And the reply would be, well, I don't need to. I only need to know about this imaginary light in Narnia and how that works. So why would I need to know about how gravity isn't real? Just how it works with the imaginary light I'm describing. Or it might be a light that really does exist, if so, even better.
Her actual response was even better, because once she said, oh, we'll just change the model. And then in another response, she said, well, the model's wrong. Like, okay, lady. Wakey.
Wakey.
Yeah.
Wakey doesn't have a channel anymore, so I don't know if he's known as Wakey still. So Mark Knight is his actual name, but I'm sure he's got a website out there if he has still, or does still go under the Wakey name, Waki. You might find him, you might not.
Is that the same guy where she found out that he was a flat earther? She wouldn't have talked to him. Am I getting the same things together?
Yes.
That's correct. That was the conclusion.
She got very upset towards the end of that interview.
That was almost verbatim what she said. Something to the effect of, I'm going to paraphrase, I can't remember, it was a long time ago, but words to the effect of, if I'd have known you were a flat earther, I wouldn't have done this interview with you.
Yep.
Wow. So, Nathan, you're right. They are afraid.
We didn't have it up or anything. So Mark Knight was known at the time when he did the interview for hammering it up and pretending to be professors to do spoof calls. So he'd call himself Professor Wacky and, call up NASA and stuff, just spoof calling people as a flat earther that had a good knowledge of the subject so he could catch them out and laugh at them. But in that instance, he didn't do any of that, did he? He just did an interview, right? He wasn't trying to catch her out. I didn't see any part of the interview where I thought, if somebody looked at this from an outside perspective and they genuinely were neutral on the subject, they might question what you'd done here, because I don't think any part of the interview was like that. He just asked her fairly standard, mundane, heliocentric questions, but got the answers that we all know are the real answers, such as, well, if the model doesn't work, by the way, that's your globe world you think you're standing on, I'll just change it. What's that? Gravity 1g doesn't work in the maths for some reason? Well, 1.8g. Why not? I'll just change it. Gravity being a force, an attraction between two masses, not working in the model, I'll just change it. Just call it bending space-time. They just changed the model. That was her. Now, you might be shocked and shaken, but we can document where it's changed through history, including distances to planets and suns and various other things in the sky that have vastly changed in terms of what's described in that model. Because they can, according to her, and in reality easy to show, just change it. Because it's not the world to live in, it's just a model.
Isn't that what Mr. Sensible did with the radius?
What, just say you can just change it? No, you can't. That's the one thing you can't change.
Like they changed gravity.
But I think the reason that she got so upset, though, was that, like, it to me, it feels like if you're just chatting it up with your buddy, right, you can just kind of shoot the shit, right? That the model works here, it doesn't work there, and it's blah, blah, blah. You don't really care. But I think towards the end of the interview, when she realized who she's talking to, I think she probably, and I don't know, I'm not a mind reader, but I think she went through in her head, like, oh my God, I went through all these points and a lot of them didn't really make sense. And now it just looks bad because you're not just shooting the shit with another glober that believes all the things that you believe. Now you're talking to somebody who has actual questions and has a stance against you. And I think that kind of messed her up, because
there should never be a position. If the world was a sphere, that astrophysicist should never be in a position to ever be concerned about a single word she says about anything. Ever.
Exactly.
Right? But she's deeply concerned.
That's what caught me.
Go on, Chocolate, sorry.
No, I was just saying that's exactly what struck me about that. Like, if you were on point with your shit, you could have flew through that interview, no problems, right? Even towards the end, when you found out the guy's a flat earther, it doesn't matter because your facts are on point.
That's right.
But she got so mad because I think she knew she just flailed during that whole thing. Exoplanet astrophysicist, you don't know anything. You don't know half the things about your own model. Even the regular claims of this crap model, she didn't know. But I'm supposed to respect her because she's an exoplanet astrophysicist? Get out of here. Kick rocks.
By the way, did she show that model?
No. Go ahead, Adam.
Nah.
I've just, thanks to Divergent Droid, just gave me the heads up. So I've searched it and I've posted the link in there. Thanks to Divergent. So the whole interview is via John Thor's channel.
Oh,
well
perfect.
Worth a listen to. It is good.
Any chance you can tell us the timestamp for where she says I wouldn't have done the interview? I just can't scan through it while I'm running the show.
Give me 5 and I'll have a hunt for it.
Perfect. If you can, that'd be absolutely epic. So, just so the audience knows, I'm just going to go and... Well, I'm not. I'm going to ask Adam to do it for me. Oh, why won't it let me click the damn thing? Oops, something went wrong. Oh, no. Okay. Maybe I won't do it that way. Can you stick it in Skype? I've lost my chat feed. Can you guys still hear me? No, voice meter hasn't crashed. Thank God.
You're in Master B, Nathan.
Perfect. Just talk amongst yourselves for a second. I just want to get my chat feed back up.
That was the interesting thing, though. How she was, if she had it, you're right, Chocolate, she would have had no worries saying anything. Right? She's got the proofsies. She's got it all intact. I don't care who
got it, right? At the hip. You just fire off at the hip with whatever. Doesn't matter. You are a exoplanet astrophysicist. I keep saying it because it's like, it's ridiculous that this is someone who gives TED Talks. But she couldn't tell this guy how we still have an atmosphere next to a vacuum. Like, come on, man.
And she makes a lot of money doing it too.
Exactly.
Okay, I've got it up whenever you're ready to give me a timestamp.
What people don't realise, like, if the Earth was a globe and spinning, it'd be so easy to prove, but you can't prove it. There's no evidence to back it up. That's why we're all questioning it and proving it wrong.
It wouldn't even be a debate.
But I'm trying to think of a way I can compare it, and the only thing that's coming into my head is a religious comparison, which would be to say that there's two people having a discussion. One has arranged to do the interview as a Christian, and the person asks a lot of questions about Christ and about the Bible, and at the end says, "Great interview, Allah be praised. Thank you very much for doing it." And the person goes, "What did you say?" "Allah be praised." And they go, "So you're telling me you're a Muslim?" And the guy goes, "Yeah. And?" "Well, if I'd have known that you were a Muslim, I would not have done this interview." Now, by comparison, wouldn't that be deeply racist?
No, you just hurt my feelings.
Yes, that would be racist.
We're just not a protected group. So when I looked into this, I was like, well, couldn't what we endure be considered bullying and oppression and a lot of other buzzwords that go along with the suppression of minority groups? They have to be specifically protected groups, which we're definitely not. We're not a protected group.
I think the problem with that is that the groups that protect other groups would attack this group. That's the problem.
What? Like who?
I don't know. Who the groups that, because they're all globers, right? So even the groups that protect other groups from hate speech, they'd find out about this group of people that don't think we're living on a magical spinning water ball.
I see.
And they get just as hype. You know what I mean?
I see. So if I pick a particular minority, if I say the LGBTQ community are ipso facto by default going to be globe earthers on the majority scale because the majority of the Western world are globe earthers. Is that your logic?
Yeah, pretty much.
I see. So therefore, in that subgroup, there's going to be somebody who's it's going to be in their interest to attack us because it makes no difference what subcategory they fit in. We're allowed to be chastised by them and called idiots by them and bullied by them. So they will, because we're not a protected group. heaven help us if we should attack them on any of those standards for them in their minority group, because they're protected. We're not, so we're fair game.
Exactly.
It goes back to issue of pride, because if you call your friend who happens to be a certain fan of a certain sports team but couldn't catch the game, and you say, "Oh my gosh, you should have seen the game," and this, "Oh man, tell me about," the guy's totally interested in it, and other things like that. Then you call that same friend and say, "Man, you know what? I think this whole globe thing is a lie, and they put one over us, and I've been researching it." Well, now what's going to happen is that whatever conditioning that friend has had about flat earthers is going to kick in. No longer the respect that he offered when he was talking about the sports team, getting the facts right. All of a sudden, he said, "Don't tell me you're one of them." What do you mean one of them? I'm one of you. I'm a human. It's like we morphed or something.
All of a sudden, you become them. You're one of those that question things. What's wrong with you? I can't
believe all these years I've known you. Have you gone insane?
Like, no, bro. I've known you like 30 years. You've never called me insane before, but now that I tell you we don't live on a magical ball, now I'm crazy? Nah.
It is like a death in the family to some people, finding out that a member of the family is a flat earther. Like, no, you've got to cut them off. Candlelight vigil time.
It's exactly like that. It's like, I can't be seen with that guy anymore.
Uncomfortable silences. So, when did you last see Uncle Nathan? Hushed silence. We don't talk. What's that Disney song? We don't talk about Bruno. It's a bit like
that. What happened? We got divided over an angle.
Divided over an angle?
I'll tell you, it shuts their mouth up real quick when you say, describe what an angle is. It can never work from a globe. It's so powerful.
No, instead they want to talk about how much fuel is used for airplanes.
Look, if I can calculate... Go on, Adam.
30 minutes and 41 seconds. There's about 20 seconds where she says then the model is wrong.
Hold on, I'm just doing one at a time. Just one at a time.
Is it before that?
31 what?
30 minutes and 40 seconds is the bit where there's the model of Stellarium to predict things, and that's where she says the model is wrong. I'm not sure what
okay.
Even with just after new moon.
Then it's fine, then it means that moon is far enough from Earth that in the full, close to the full moon, you can see it like from the front and from the edge.
But in the model, there's a model software called Celestia.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know Celestia?
I don't know. Yeah, there are many.
It's a mod. Yeah, there's many. It's a 3D model of the solar system. When you put this date and time in, you shouldn't be able to see the moon from both places. So there's a problem somewhere.
So probably model is wrong. I'd say.
Okay. What was the next one?
No, I'm still hunting for the others.
Okay.
Did she admit it before this? They're getting into this now, and
right
I'm sure
at the end.
Before. Is it right at the end?
Yeah.
You talk about when she says she's upset or she wouldn't have had the interview. That's close to the end. Yeah. It's definitely close to the end.
See, there's no video. It's just the audio. You see, so
correct. It's a phone call, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, there's no way of looking at the scowl on her face when she's doing it and nothing. No.
That's what's good exactly.
Hold on.
I wish that interview was on video. It would have been nice to see her face towards the end.
Is anybody blocked from Discord? Bob the Science Guy? He's saying it's a pity that he's blocked. Why, he's got some arguments?
I don't think he is blocked. He shouldn't be. Well, if you are, maybe have a word with Betty, because you shouldn't be blocked, Bob. My policy is everyone's welcome back the next day. There's 1, 2, 3 maybe exceptions to that. That's it. Very few in whatever it's been, 4 or 5 years. You're not one of them, Bob. Quite the contrary. You shouldn't be, as far as I'm concerned. Anybody got any particular reason why Bob shouldn't be? Bob's not a bad guy, is he? Nobody's saying yes.
Does he mean mentally blocked?
No, that's not what I mean. I mean, there's been certain behaviours that people have exhibited that have gone banned on both sides, not just Globe side. So Flat Earth side, you've got Slick James got banned for his behaviour. On the Globe side, you've got Brenda, for her behaviour. Now there's others that have been banned, but just being liars, just flat out liars, proven liars, and there's no hope, and I don't want those on my show either. Examples of those would be Zanuck and Rumpus. But other than that, I think there's one example of someone porn bombing my show. That's less than half a dozen, right? I can't think of any other examples unless anybody else can tell me another one that I've missed. Bob's not on that list.
Well, Nathan, I'm sorry.
I'm just saying Bob's not on that list. That's all I was going to say.
Yeah, because I don't, even from the room, Zanuck and Rumpus, they can come in here after you're gone. They're not banned from the Discord. I don't know about Professor Bob, though.
Oh, exactly, that's what I'm saying. I can see Rumpus in the Ever After show, presumably rating to poison people after the show's ended, because he's not allowed in the show. But, it doesn't mean he's not hanging around. There he is, like I've just literally had him on my list. Well, he won't be coming on the show, but he can still hang around on Discord. Nobody's banned him. Like, literally banned him. I just have to move him out if he comes in. But if Bump...
I found it.
Here we go.
Okay, so if you go to 1 hour and 1 minute 00, it's about... There's only 19 seconds before the end of the video, so it's just from that point. Finishes with Rupert Sheldrake making a quote, but then it'll come in and he comes in 1 hour and 1 minute 00 seconds.
Religion's dogmatic and science is free thinking, but actually, in my experience, some of the most dogmatic people I know are people who've made science into a kind of religion.
I would say direct experience is the king.
Yes.
Different tests of the same thing coming with the same results. That's highly scientific.
I should have asked your credentials before I talked to you. I'm sorry.
There you go. Thank you for digging it out. Not as dramatic as I remembered. Amazing how your memory distorts things, eh, Chocolate?
She said credentials. I thought she said flat earther.
I think when we watched it live, the interview, it's a lot more cringeworthy. And like I said, you're looking for those bits on her face, but that's interchopped with cuts and video and stuff. But the points there, you can see the final point he makes to her. This is science, though, isn't it, that we're presenting to you? And her response is, well, basically it can't be because I need to check your credentials as to whether that's science or not. And that sums it all up.
Wait, what if he would have had all the right credentials, but still was a flat earther?
He raises this point with her in the interview. He says, what if I give you 1,000 videos showing no curvature by PhD? Would you accept it? Well, you'd have to take a minute. And it's just excuse after excuse. Suddenly the credentials aren't important. It's the simple fact that it's disproving the ball that's her issue.
Well, that's a livelihood. She makes good money.
I mean, going forward, I think people will hopefully pick up on the fact that the most important point we're laying down at the moment is the fact that the globe Earth model has been derived from a flat plane. Now, typically it falls to refracted curvature or John to do this on a sort of remindery basis throughout the show. Well, he's not here, so I'm doing it. But the point is that the globe's derived from a flat plane. It's derived from measurements taken from a plane and could only have been developed, paradoxically so, if the Earth's flat. If the Earth... It's like it forces the opponent to accept the reality of their situation, because without that flat Earth measurement, you can't get to the sphere. And to deny the flat Earth measurement means you can't measure the angle to get to your sphere. $125 people watching. Woohoo! Please share the show. The only reason there's 125 people watching is because the regulars share the show. So, as I say, warm welcome if you've just joined us, but please smash the share button. Thanks in advance to all who do. Also, shout out to Retro Bill for hitting the super chat. He says, shout out of appreciation to the entire panel. I'm keeping every penny of that, Retro Bill. But the sentiment they can have. How do you like your yummy sentiment?
It's given me a warm, fuzzy feeling inside.
That's priceless. The $10, on the other hand, will help pay my rent.
There you go.
No, seriously, though, thank you very much for the super chat and the support, Rotary Bill. In all sincerity, I really do appreciate it. Any single viable hypothesis from any of the fields of astronomy, cosmology, or astrophysics?
No, and I don't think there ever will be.
No, and as the astrophysicist would like to change your model, you're going to need half of that. And if your R changes, it ruins every bit of your little fairy tale story because it all has to change. Venus, distances to everything. So you're going to need half of that.
Let's expand on that. Venus is described by heliocentrists as being Earth's twin. Everyone familiar with it known as, or being referred to as, Earth's twin?
Yes.
Yep.
Why is that? Anybody know?
It was a necessity to make that assumption. In doing so, it allows you, if you also pre-assume R, to then have some numbers to plot into the ratios that you've got from your stellar observations by the transit of Venus over the Sun.
So when applying it to the transit of Venus, you need a value for Venus, correct?
Ideally, yes. But if you assume that Venus is our twin, so its value is the same, you don't have to directly do anything with Venus to validate Venus. You just validate your assumption it's the same as the Earth.
Like Christian Huygens did?
Yeah. He would be the chief assumer.
So it is assumed that the radius value of Earth, when derived by way of the elevation angle measurements to Polaris to derive dual radii, when basing your measurements off a celestial sphere model based on a flat plane, transposed into the angle measurement on the protractor as the surface of the Earth. When you're at that stage and you've got your R value from a flat plane, you can then assume that a light in the sky known as Venus has the same radial value as the assumed paradoxically sphere-shaped Earth. And when you do that, you can apply Kepler's third law of interplanetary motion because you have a scaling value when you're looking at the transit of Venus. And that, boys and girls, is why Venus is called Earth's twin. Not because it's in any way similar to the terra firma ground that you stand on. It's a light in the sky. But if you assume that light in the sky is the same as a flat plane that you've made spherical by measuring angles from it, then the light in the sky has the same spherical value measured off a flat plane that the Earth has, paradoxically speaking, and you can scale values to give you distances to the Sun. Ain't that beautiful?
Lovely.
Who knew when you were growing up and they just slipped in Venus is Earth's twin? That was the reason. Not me. Sounded good though at the time, eh?
No, I got shout out Sleeping Warrior for that one. I didn't.
He was sat on his hands for ages waiting for somebody to bring it up, wasn't he?
Desperate.
It's interesting that you can have a different world that you think you live in, only in the mass, side by side by the reality you do live in. And it comes down to, like you said, the angle measurement has straight lines. And then here you've got scaling and Venus. But so how did he supposedly get to that information when he's living on a flat plane? How did he? I mean, the whole thing falls apart when you start saying, well, there's no way he could get an angle measurement from Earth. So Earth can't be a sphere and get an angle measurement. So then how come he's thinking Venus is a sphere? The whole thing falls apart.
Bob the science guy said, again, no need to estimate the size of Venus for the transit calculation.
Okay, then
Why
don't.
don't you come on in here?
Then don't.
Yep.
Okay, no worries.
It's like
The better question is, how do you get an elevation angle from a curved baseline? He still hasn't got that one through his head.
Maybe he'll join in the after show. We'll see.
You're saying like the globe deceit runs so deep, yet it was just a mathematical feat.
Do you even know what the transit of Venus is?
I know what the transit of Venus is. Does that mean you don't know what the transit of Venus is, Neil? Because if not, we'll have to tell you what it is in the after show, I guess. But with that, I'm going to say, first and foremost, if you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley premiering streams, stay tuned, as there will be an after show to follow. Unfortunately, if you are watching this live, this is where we bid you farewell. A huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of you who smashed the super chat, liked, commented, shared, subscribed, hit the thanks button after the fact, and all that good stuff. Another massive thank you to today's Discord and G+ panels for making today's live show possible. Once again, stay tuned if you're watching on either premiering stream. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.
What a lovely day!